present this John Maxwell content, they will get certified as a
I got this
recertification
one.
provider or CEU provider for whatever local things that
Judge
people
the
use,
chili
and that way
City
Of business is to have a general discussion amongst the citizens. Do we have anyone here for that? Okay, so hearing none, we'll move on to considering approval of the minutes from December 12th, 2024. They were already published, and so do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you very much.
I'll second.
Thank you, Tina. Any discussion? I did notice that there was a hyphen between Beach and McGuire. I don't
Oh.
think,
I didn't notice, I didn't notice that.
I'm surprised you even presented a motion to pass these though.
That's
So-
outrageous.
Yeah.
No, it's, it actually, on my government documentation, it's just Beach space McGuire. They don't actually add a hyphen. I don't particularly care either way, but,
So aside from that friendly correction, do I hear any
And-
other
oh,
discussion?
I do have a different problem with that, though. I noticed it's a little q, it's actually a capital G. So it's capital M, little c, capital G, U-I-R-E.
Okay.
That probably does need to be changed.
Sure. So if you want me to come back later and sign that document, or maybe the page that I can sign
Yeah.
doesn't have any corrections on it, I can just, you
Okay.
can fix that one.
Perfect, thank
Great.
you.
Thank you so
That's
much.
just a clerical error. We don't need a motion or
No,
anything.
no,
No,
no.
it's good.
Yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Thank you very much. Okay, so now we'll move along to our regular agenda. And so, Mr. Killen, if you would present to us case number V 2025-001, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Jason Nitsky, and he is here, representing Horton Commercial Properties, is requesting a variance from section 15405.8D relating to minimum lot dimensions for 791 Clinton, which is parcel 33319 of the Shepherd Collins Block 14, Lot 12 and 13 of the city of Stephenville. He is asking for this variance. He's looking at acquiring this from Mr. Ed Horton, and with his site plan, which we have included in your packet, his intentions are to actually build duplex properties. He's looking to fit 4 of those on there with an R2.5 zoning. And so he is set before he's already gone to P&Z. He's going to city council on Tuesday for that rezoning request. What this variance would allow would be the reduction in the depth of the lot requirement. So the configuration of the lot and the way he's wanting to place these homes on the site plan, he's going to be about 13 foot short of that minimum depth requirement. So he's asking for some consideration there. What doesn't really affect anything other than the depth of the lot itself, because he will still meet the setbacks. So the structure will not be any closer to the setback than what it would be otherwise, if that makes sense. So he would be able to meet the setback. The yard just won't be as deep as it normally would. So, but he'll still be 25 foot from the property line. There is a little bit of a housekeeping issue here. because the property has not been rezoned or replatted, we can't really grant variances for each lot as shown on his site plan. So what we're asking tonight is that the consideration is to be given for the setback for the entire property. And then once it's rezoned and replatted, he'll come back and we will clean up the remainder of the site plan with the what should be a minor plat, dividing one lot into 4. So I don't see any real issue there. I know that we have Mr. Scott and Shelley Hooper here tonight. They have some questions about the project, and I believe that they have maybe spoken with Mr. Nitsky or would like to speak with Mr. Nitsky tonight. And one last comment is that we do have one letter of support, and it's from Mr. Ed Horton himself, and so he is supporting variance 2025-001. You have a copy of that in front of you. And with that, Mr. Chair, I'd be glad to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So please just clarify for us, R 2.5 is on the way. The rezoning is being considered, it already was considered by P and Z?
Yes, sir.
And now it's going to city council?
That is correct. P and Z reviewed the rezoning request and recommended by unanimous vote that the city council approve the rezone request.
Okay. Thank you.
Can I ask a quick question? Where exactly is this located?
749, I've talked to someone else
Do you-
today.
you know where Hook-
791 North Clinton.
Hook Elementary.
Yes.
It's the corner that's where the parking lot is.
Uh-huh.
It's the corner that's towards Fry.
I got
Okay.
There we go.
you. Yeah, that's what you're talking about.
So that big parking lot right there, that's the parking lot at Hook,
Okay,
the old junior high.
okay. I couldn't tell by this exactly,
It's-
so, okay.
So great question, and with this pulled up, we'll be able to maybe explain things a little bit better. This property has a Clinton address, but if Mr. Nitsky goes through with this plan, the structures will actually front, I believe that's Shirley now. And so because he's positioning them to face Shirley, he won't have the depth requirement for the 75 by 100. But he does have everything else, he can meet everything else with the site plan that he's proposing.
Very good. Any other questions for Mr. Cohen from the board?
I have a question, but I think I need to wait until.
So, Mr. Nitsky, if you'd come up and introduce yourself, just for Facebook Live and all the, those things, just state your name, and then if you want to make a statement, then we'll have questions for you.
Okay, I'm Jason Nitschke, and I'm looking to build the duplexes on the 791 Clinton. Don't have any questions?
Mary?
I think I need to wait until we make our motion. Yeah? My question isn't really for Mr. Nitschke.
Oh. Questions?
I just want to get some clarity on the layout.
Yeah.
I guess I was a little wonky on the map. I thought when it was gonna be replatted that the two are gonna be facing Fry. It's gonna
No, Shirley.
be facing Shirley. Scrolling. Oh, I see. Okay. I
So
see.
so it currently faces, there
No, I
there
got-
was
I got
a
this
house.
mixed up. I'm
Is the
sorry.
house, is the older house still there?
It's still there, yes, ma'am.
Okay, so there's currently an old house
We're
that
not in
sits.
discussion right now.
Okay, I was, sorry. She was trying to figure out
But
the
if it's
layout,
about
so.
clarification,
So
so-
it was, the old house currently faces Clinton, but the new houses, the 4 new houses will face
Face
Shirley.
Shirley.
Sure, yes, ma'am.
My apologies. I was confusing that with something else that I was researching. My street's confused.
So a lot of this is interesting because what what we're hearing is under the present way that it's platted and the present zoning, it's residential, but you're asking that to the city council that it be R25,
Yes, sir.
which
Yes.
would allow for multi-family homes. And
Yes, sir. And then decrease the density of the people, can be there.
And instead of apartments, it's that R 2.5, so it's
Right.
the,
Mr. Chairman, may I
Yes.
comment on that? So this property is currently zoned R3, which is multifamily.
Okay.
It's not zoned R1. Now, single-family homes would be a permitted use in R3,
Right, right.
but
I get it.
R3 also allows for 2 to 4 family, also allows for multifamily. And
Yeah.
multifamily could be at a density of 24 units per acre. What Mr. Nitsky is proposing is to reduce this down to the R 2.5 zoning. That reduces the setback requirement under the R 2.5 zoning from 25 foot to 15 foot. That's why he can still meet the setback requirements. But he's not gonna be able to meet the 100-foot depth requirement that R 2.5 still holds in place. So where he is asking for a different zoning because of a less restrictive setback,
Yeah.
but then he's also reducing the density load of the number of units that he could place on the property through this rezone request.
okay, so my question kind of has to do with that. So if we approve the variance and he doesn't get the R 2.5, how does that impact the setback on the R3? Will he be able to build a bigger apartment? Will the setback variance still hold if he doesn't get the R 2.5?
Yes, we're asking
Change?
for the variance to be granted based on existing
Property.
layout, but with the existing parcel. And basically what we're trying to do is give Mr. Nitsky the ability to know that he can proceed with a site plan that's going to fit what he's wanting to do with the project. Basically, if he can't get the variance, then his site plan's not gonna work, and then he will have to reconsider if he even wants to proceed with the deal. If Mr. Nitsky doesn't move forward on this, then again, it's already zoned to allow someone to build apartments at 24 units per acre.
But then if we give the variance and he doesn't go through with the R 2.5, then whoever does, if they come in and decide they want to build something on that R3, then they have that variance. Am I correct?
They have the variance, but they still have the maximum density that they would be limited to.
And
But-
if we grant this, it would go from 100 feet depth requirement to what?
About 87.
Okay. 13 feet is the variance request, basically. Okay.
So regardless, try to make sure I'm understanding and communicating well with Ms. McGuire, Mary Beach McGuire. The reduction in the lot dimension
Mhm.
to allow for only an 87 foot depth with a 15-foot setback
Mhm.
would be in compliance with the R 2.5 requirements. At that 87 foot, you're reducing the depth of the lot.
And
But it doesn't necessarily change the number of units that could be placed on there, regardless if it's R 2.5 or if it's R3. It's those, we're not asking for a variance on the density. He's
Mhm.
asking for a variance on the
I know,
lot dimension.
I understand that, but so my concern though is if he doesn't get his R 2.5 and say he sells it and somebody else comes in and they see that they have that variance with that extra 13 feet that they can build with and they aren't as concerned about the density as he seems to be, which is great, then that would allow whoever comes in and decides to build with that variance to, I mean, yes, they're still restricted to however many per acre, but,
Right, they'd still have to have a site plan that would meet all the requirements, minus the 13 foot variance granted on the depth of the lot. So they'd still have to, R3 zoning would still require 25-foot setbacks.
Y-
So it's the
You have-
footprint of the building and the density, along with the, all the requirements of parking, on-site drainage, detention, all of that would have to be worked through for a site plan. So yes, he is asking for a
Okay.
variance on the depth of the lot. That's the only variance he's looking for.
Of 13 feet.
13.
And we understand you're not taking, I mean, this is not a lightly taken request. I mean,
But you
you've
said-
got the surveys, and you've
Yes, sir.
already done a substantial amount of work, and the city doesn't seem to be,
Yeah, you said he has been to planning and zoning?
Yes.
And they did approve it? Was that a?
They recommended
Or
approval.
recommended for
Yes, ma'am.
approval? Okay.
it still has to go before city council.
Right,
For
right.
that part, yeah. All right, well, thank you very much. We don't have any other questions.
Mm.
So, now I'll open it up to the public, and we already have an acknowledgement of an email from, let's see,
Mr. Ed Horton.
Ed Horton, and says, tried to send notice, got rejected. I am in favor of case V 2025-001 variance for parcel, and then that's basically the specifications, and then signed by Mr. Horton. And then, do we have anyone here in the community who are gonna speak to this? Okay, so please come on up. We have Scott and Shelley Hooper, if you want to speak together, introduce yourself.
Sure. I'm Scott
Or
Hooper.
unless you want to go in succession.
Oh, I don't know, we talk over each other anyway. So, it's good. No, I'm Scott Hooper,
I'm Shelley Hooper.
and this is probably and I think I was listening between the lines, so this is maybe a question for Steve, I'm not sure. But the reason, we're not opposed to the variance, first of all. I guess I should explain, we live right across the street from Shirley.
On the corner of Clinton and Shirley.
And
You're
on
on
the
the
back
other
side, we have two properties that touch Jason's property. So we have a lot of vested interest in this project, a whole lot. But a lower density is absolutely awesome. So we're not opposed to that.
Okay.
I think that one of my questions is, I haven't seen what the front looks like. This may be a conversation after, and we can talk after, which is fine. But we are concerned about just making sure that it fits the neighborhood. We have, our house is an older one, a Tudor style. We're trying to actually help rehab the neighborhood. And so anyway, we just want to make sure that these are considerations that are taken for that area, that it fits the neighborhood. And I know that there's things going up everywhere. Without looking at it, I don't, I've seen some of the more modern styles that just don't seem to fit or anything else. But my question to the board was, as far as the zoning part of it, and this may not be appropriate for this board, I'm not sure, but the rezoning has everything to do with the variance. Is that correct? I mean, he could build duplexes on this anyway, if
Correct.
he wanted to, because without it even being rezoned R2, but the rezoning is about being able to ask for the variance. Is that what I'm understanding?
No, right now it's R3, so that's.
I mean, that's what I meant. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
but the request is that the setback for an R2.5 doesn't have to be changed, well, it'll go from 25 feet to 15 feet.
Right.
That's the requirement in the 2.5, if I heard correctly, and then the depth requirement would be reduced to 87 feet as opposed to 100 feet. But the density on the property would be reduced because
Reduced, right.
fewer people could actually live on the property under an R.2.5.
I guess I don't understand why he has to go through so much trouble getting it rezoned if he could just build the duplexes on there anyway with the variance, if he got the variance approved. I'm just curious.
Sure.
Yes, please.
So the R 2.5 zoning is for projects like this. It was kind of created with these infill housing ideas in mind. And what it does is it allows for, in most cases, a smaller lot dimension as small as 50 by 60. But on a on a duplex dwelling, it still requires the 100-foot depth. It reduces the setback to 15 feet, but it still requires the 100-foot depth, just like R3 zoning does. So the advantage of asking for the R 2.5 allows him to have a smaller setback, but positioning those where they face Shirley, regardless if it's R 2.5 or R3, he can't meet the 100-foot setback, or the 100-foot depth, I'm sorry. So if he kept it at R3 to build duplexes on, as his site plan shows, he can't meet the 100-foot depth. But if he goes to R 2.5 and he doesn't meet the depth, and he has a reduced setback, he can position these structures on there and be in compliance with the zoning regulations, land use regulations for R 2.5.
Okay, thank you. I think we have a question about drainage.
One thing, I don't know if it's been considered, and you wouldn't know this unless you've observed it, but when it rains hard, the water comes, that last picture where it showed Hook and everything, it comes down Shirley, turns on Clinton, turns on Shirley again. There's like this dog leg, and the water just flows. Shirley Street, it has a bit of a hump, and sometimes you can barely see the ridge down the middle. And I just wonder how that will affect once we, get rid of a lot of it is a beloved area in our neighborhood. That's where our block parties, that's our home base. And so it's a beautiful spot that we cherish. But we do appreciate the not wanting to fill it up with a gazillion people. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 may be okay. But just like, what will the water, has there been any consideration that now that there's not any grassland to soak up the water, that it now runs off the sidewalk into the street and adds to what's already there? Because like sometimes the big green trash cans that we have in town, they end up down the street. And I was just wondering if anything has been talked about, or considered on that. And also, just the parking. Because there's Hook, that last picture of the Google, I'm pretty sure that was at 2:15 in the afternoon. I could see the parents lined up. And so in the morning and the evening, and any time that there's an activity at Hook, in front of all 4 of these buildings, there might be 8 cars. And so it's just gonna change the trajectory of how people get and do their things with Hook. I guess that's more of a statement than a question.
Sure, and those questions are definitely beyond the purview of the
Okay.
Board of Adjustment, but maybe Mr. Killen could address them, or maybe invite
Yes, sir.
the Hoopers to ask later or something. I don't know.
No, I can give a
Okay.
quick answer on that if
Appreciate
it's the
that.
pleasure of the board.
Yeah.
So the development review process, this is just the kind of the getting him positioned where he can move forward with the project. Once we get to that point, he will have to meet with city staff and go through the review process, and drainage will be a consideration that he has to deal with. Through city staff review, a property this size may or may not require a full drainage analysis, but it will at least require an engineer looking at it and giving the city some kind of reassurance that it will not contribute or add to any type of flooding issue. Doesn't necessarily have to fix existing conditions, but it cannot contribute or make the condition worse than what currently exists. As far as the parking, yes, I'm sure people have been parking in front of it with it being an undeveloped parcel. However, once it's developed, I mean, city streets are there for public parking unless posted otherwise. Unfortunately, once the homes are there, they won't be able to block the driveway, so
Right,
they'll have to
sure.
park somewhere else. Just as we wouldn't want someone parking in front of our driveway, where in the neighborhoods where we live, so. I don't know if that answers your questions or not, but
I guess I
there
just
will
wanted
be
to
a.
be made aware. that
It's a pretty extensive review. Mr. Nitsky has worked with the city on several projects, and he's very familiar with the requirements of moving forward, so, we're basically just trying to get him, what he's needing really is just an indicator from the boards and from the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council, so he knows if he acquires the property and actually tries to do this or not. And he's been authorized by the owner of the property to proceed with these variance requests and the rezone requests.
Thank you.
And I close on tomorrow.
Thank you. So I was just curious, do you have, could you tell us what the end product, there's gotta be other properties that, like, Mr. Killen said, you've developed that kind of like an idea of what it will look like? Do you,
I have
from-
the elevations here.
Yeah.
I don't know if y'all have them scanned in, but I do have some elevations to show you.
Sure, that'd be cool. You know what they say about a picture being worth a bunch of words?
I wish I'd seen that picture before I asked my question.
So that's, of course, your front.
And this is the view we would see from Sherwood.
Yes, and this one.
And
This
then
is
from
back.
Clinton, we would see the back side there, or the side side.
From Clinton, yes, sir, you'll
That-
see,
yeah.
see this side here.
It's informative.
Mr. Nitzke, do you mind facing it towards?
Is it rocket siding?
Brick,
Oh, it's a brick at top?
yes. Well,
So it'd
only,
be
only side will
pre-formed?
be on these,
Mhm.
where these windows stick out a little bit. They kind of cantilever out a little bit.
All
So
right.
there'll be 2 stories?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
So, I'll go ahead and close, if there are none others from the community, I'll go ahead and close the public hearing and, consider a motion regarding case V 2025-001.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2025-001.
Okay. Recruit, the approve of the variance?
The variance.
Okay. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you, JJ. All right, any discussion?
I just want to go on record that I don't like the idea of approving a variance when there is a pending zoning change. That being said, these will make some great starter homes, and I know that we are very short on that type of housing in the city of Stephenville, and it sounds like Mr. Nitsky is trying to work with the neighborhood and make these something that will not be an eyesore for the neighbors. So I'm gonna say yes, but just generally, I do not like to approve a variance when there's a pending zoning, just for the very reason that if it doesn't go through, I mean, what's to stop the next person from, who doesn't have as good intentions as you might have, that, you understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
And our only choices are approve or disapprove.
Mm-hmm.
There's no
Yeah.
conditional approval.
No,
Not in this case,
not in this.
right, Mr. Killen? It's either up or down.
That's correct. I
Yeah.
did have that discussion with the city attorney, and it's yes or no.
But that's a good question, because sometimes there are conditions that we can request.
I mean, I was a little bit hesitant, because I understand where you're coming from, and for me, it was, well, they've already recommended it unanimously.
Mhm.
So I'm like, but then I'm like, we need housing.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, and not all we need stop housing, but there's nothing wrong with it, we need more of that too.
We've taken this
But we
approach before, Mr. Chair, and it was challenged and it was supported by our legal team, so we're not deviating from
Yeah.
a legal practice. It's simply if we start telling developers that we won't help them get answers before they begin their project, we will not have developers wanting to do business in our city. So, we're simply trying to be development friendly, and in this case, I have visited with, the Hoopers and Mr. Nitsky, and I think the consensus is that a lighter density is preferred over an R 324 units per acre. So I appreciate the concerns, I share the concerns, but we're not deviating from a practice that is accepted.
Thank you very much. I appreciate the explanations and the discussion. So I'm going to call the question. All in favor of approving this variance, as the motion is stated, please say aye.
Ah,
Okay, none are opposed, so motion is passed. Congratulations, and I'm glad you can make your way through the process further now. We don't have any other business on today's agenda, but we acknowledge that this was a specially called meeting, and so there'll probably be a regular business meeting in February, but if not,
I
then
don't
we'll
know
see
that we have a
everyone in March.
submittal yet, but
Mhm.
did visit with the building official and the code enforcement officer, and we may have a different type of case coming at you on the 13th, that we can get the packet assembled, so.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna.
Move to
the meeting
adjourn.
Yeah.
second.
Nobody's gonna argue with that one. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Thank you.